Welcome back. We are ACI Course 13, Class 10. It's July 19th, 2026, where I am. Let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them there with you just by way of your thinking of them. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion, their wisdom radiating from them, that beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Feel how much you would like to be able to help them. Recognize how the worldly ways we try to help fall short. How wonderful it will be when we can also help them in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they will go on to stop their distress forever. Deep down, we know this is possible. Learning more and more about emptiness and karma, we glimpse how it's possible. And so I invite you to grow that wish into a longing, and that longing into an intention. And with our intention strong, we turn our minds back to our precious holy being. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn yet, what we need to do yet, to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please, 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 teach me that, show me that. Help me become that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the pure world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer to make our promise. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Nirya Tayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may we reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings totally awaken for the benefit of every single other. All right, so last class we talked about that thing called an exclusion, about how we perceive things by way of eliminating other things. And Geshe-la's review, he just tried to clarify. So there were three kinds of exclusions, three ways that we arrive at something by way of excluding other stuff. One of them had to do with excluding things to come up with an object, a pen. Another was arriving at conceptualizations by way of excluding stuff. And the third was to arrive at the absence of something by way of exclusion. And so the principle in all three is to establish what a thing is or isn't by way of establishing how it's not included in other stuff. And it's like, it just seems so convoluted. So in particular, the elimination, like coming to the conclusion of the absence of something by way of elimination, is establishing what a thing is not by eliminating all that it is not. And we said the classic example was the water pitcher is not in the category of things that are not water pitcher. And that therefore reveals that if we thought water pitchers could be found in the category of not water pitchers, we would not find it there. And that seems really silly. But it doesn't seem so silly when we say, the person who makes me upset is not amongst the things that are the real reason I get upset. Now, finding the absence of the person upsetting me by looking for them in a category of things that could upset me and not finding them there is a really helpful kind of finding an absence. These little ways to help ourselves work out how we can better come to understand how we are blaming things that aren't there for things that happen to us. The self-existent person, for instance, because we think they are the thing that causes my upset. So there are different ways of using the recognition of eliminations and the recognition of the absence of things. And the example is, if I say, look at my table here. Here's my table. Is there a teacup on that table? You can look there and go, no, I don't see any teacup. There's no teacup there. And we're not really talking about an elimination in that case, because we just look to see that what I'm looking for is not there, assuming that what I'm looking for actually exists. And if I said, oh, is there a glob? I need to make up a word, a gluck on my desk. And you'd look at it and go, I can't answer that because I don't know what a gluck is. If we did, we could just say no. But if we don't know, you can't say yes or no. And then it's different if I were to say, if I were to say, please get for me the teacup that's on my desk. You would then be looking for a teacup. You would look at the things that are on the desk and eliminate that those are teacups. And you would come back and say, there is no teacup on the desk. Because I asked in a different kind of way. If there was nothing on the desk at all, you would just look and go, no teacup. If there's other stuff on the desk, you have to eliminate whether those are teacup or not. If they're not teacup, you eliminate them. Doesn't mean you push them away and they disappear. You look at it and you go, not teacup, not teacup, not teacup. And then you decide there's no teacup there, or you find the teacup that is there. Ta-da! Right? So if you had this, which is almost like partial information, right? You can't quite see the whole thing. And I said, is there a teacup on the desk? Your eye would be going, is that what that is? Right? Eliminating the other stuff. That's not a teacup. That's not a teacup. Those aren't teacup. Maybe this is. I can't quite see all of it. But I'm going to jump to the conclusion, yes, there's a teacup on the desk. But the only way we would know that is being able to eliminate the other stuff. Which is different than just nothing on the desk at all. We arrive at those two conclusions by this different process in our mind, even though it seems like we arrive at them the same way. Looking for something, and maybe we find it, maybe we don't. Okay, eliminations. It's actually a really fun thing to chew on and cogitate. So class 10 is a class on the presentation of time. Geshe-la pulled it out because it's such an interesting and fun topic, and kind of like a reward for making it so far in this course 13 without bailing out and running away. It comes from the sutras text called Dodepa. Or not the text isn't called Dodepa, it comes from the level of study called Dodepa, which is the sutras. But the sutras have two levels. The sutras who primarily read the sutras and base their practice on sutra, and the sutras who primarily use logic and reasoning in order to follow the sutras. Right? So this comes from the logic followers. It's called Rikpe Chejang. You see, I have it here. I want to put in an advertisement for the program that Rebecca Vinacourt runs for sponsoring people to go study at Sarah May. What you study is language class, Tibetan language class. And then often you also study one of the ACI topics. And often they study logic. They study logic and study debate. And her first group that she took, I have in these notes, was 2005. So she's been raising money and sending people to language classes at the monastery for 21 years. I had no idea it had been that long. That means a lot of people have gone and a lot of people have benefited. And I recognize some of their names in the translator class audience, right? The people that seem to know so much more and seem to really have the Tibetan language. They're pretty adept at it. Many of those are ones that have gone to this program, and I think they stay a month and work really hard to study and practice. And I'm just so impressed with all of them. Like, I don't think I could do that if my life depended upon it. But I really, really admire those who do go. And it's an ongoing program. So, if it attracts you, that maybe someday you want to be part of the group that goes, reach out to Rebecca and see what the requirements are for it. Okay, so we are studying Dusum Namshak. Namshak means the presentation. Dusum means the 3 times, the presentation on the 3 times. From the Do Depa level school, the sutras, the sub-school Rikpe Jedong, meaning the logic followers. So these ideas about past, present, and future are pretty acceptable. It sounds reasonable, it sounds logical, we can pick it up. And Geshe-la said we would probably, accept it and use it if we hadn't already heard that the prasangikas don't accept it. And we'll talk a little bit about the difference between the two. But just because prasangikas don't accept this presentation on time, it does not mean that it's not helpful to start our thinking about what do we think time actually is or isn't, and how does it influence us in our perceptions? Because it does, clearly. We seem to always have some kind of concept of time in our projections. So we have the 3 times, Depa, Datawa, and Ma'omba. Depa means past, P-A-S-T, as in past tense. Datawa means present time, as in present tense. And Ma'omwa, Ma means not, and Ongwa means to come. So it sounds like it means not to come. Literally, that's the word translation. But what it means is not yet come, meaning the future. So we have Depa, past, Datawa, present, Ma Ongwa, future. And in order to talk about these things, we need definitions, don't we? So that we're all on the same page when we're talking about past, present, and future. So the scripture says, let's find the definition of past, present, and future. And their conclusion is this: me pa not seni me. Me pa na seni me. Seni means definition. Me means not or none. Me pa na means don't exist. There does not exist a definition. There is no definition for past and future. So are they saying there's no such thing as past and future? That would be silly. Are they saying, well, we just can't give you a good description of it, so we're not going to bother? Or is it literal that we cannot define past and future? This lower school, they actually say, look, it is true that a thing called past and a thing called future, they don't exist. They don't exist. So there can't be a definition for them. You can't define a non-existent thing. But because they say that this thing we're calling the past is a present moment that's already gone. That's all it means, is a present is gone. So you can't say that it's a thing, the past. And then you can't say the future is a thing that we're going into because it hasn't happened yet. Nothing in the future has happened yet. Because it can't, because it's future. Like, it seems like a circular argument, but you can see how, well, then there's no such thing as the future. And there's no such thing as the past. Unless you say relative to something in the moment. So they're being very specific here. If you ask me for a definition of past or future, sorry, there is none. Because there is no thing called past and thing called future. But if we say, give me the definition of the past relative to a current moment of our friend the pen, now we can define it. What's the future relative to this object, my experience of the moment? Now we can give future a definition. Now we can recognize something called past, something called future, but only in comparison to something in the now. And without that comparison, we're lost. And it's like, it seems like this detail that doesn't seem so important. But we'll see how, as we negotiate what they're trying to say, it's giving us clues that will help us in our future negotiation of what highest middle way describes about time. So we can give definitions of the past relative to a particular object. And we'll use our friend Boompa, the water pitcher. I'm going to use our friend my teacup. So there are two necessary parts to the definition of a thing of the past relative to a current moment something. Not relative to the current moment, but to the existence of something in the current moment. These two different aspects of the definition are necessary to clarify what past means. So in the Tibetan, it's Bumpe Dusu Ke Simpa and Bumpe Dusu Gak Simpa. So the Bumpe Dusu means in the time of the water pitcher. In the time, I'm going to change my mind or I'm going to spill my tea. We'll use our friend the pen. In the time of this pen, we are looking for something relative to it. Ke means began. Simpa means already began. For this thing called the past, relative to this moment of our friend the pen. First piece of the definition is that that past has to have already begun. But that's not complete for us to be able to say what the past is, to be able to recognize this thing we're calling the past relative to the current moment pen. We also have to say, at the time of our friend the pen, that past must have also already stopped. Because if the time we're talking about relative to this pen has already begun but hasn't stopped yet, we're talking about the time of this pen now. We'd be talking about the present moment. So we need both of those aspects of our definition. Relative to this pen, that thing we're calling the past has to have already started, ge simpa, and it has to have already stopped, ga simpa. And when you have those two statements to define the past, we can recognize what we're talking about as the past relative to this current pen that's here in the present moment. All right, you with me so far? At the time of this pen, the past has to have started and stopped for it to be the past, for it to be what we're talking about as past. So then, what would be the definition of the present relative to our friend the pen, the water pitcher looking like a pen? We still need two parts. We need Bumpe Dusu Drup Simpa, meaning it's happened already, and Bupa Dong Du Nyampa, it has to, Dong Du Nyampa means equal time, with equal time, meaning it must still be going on. So for us to recognize the time that this present pen is in, can I say, that time has to have started and it has to still be happening for this pen to be this pen in our present moment. Past has to have started and stopped. Future we're not at yet. Present has started and is still there. And is still there. And is still there. Now, high school is not going to agree so much with that. But for our baby steps, it's helpful to recognize that there is present moment time as really about the only thing that we can verify at this point. So now we also need a definition of the future relative to our friend the pen. So again, we have the Bumpa Dusu at the time of, that says water pitcher, I'm saying pen. Ge Shimpa, wait a minute. I have the H in there. Yeah, because it's a different word. Ge Shimpa means it's in the act of beginning. That's awkward. We don't say that in English. Something's in the act of beginning. But hold it in mind. Something like it's trying to get started, but it isn't complete yet. The act of becoming. Yes, Janet.
Maitreya.
What about Maitreya?
He's the future Buddha.
But there is no future. How can we have a future Buddha if there's no future? Future relative to whom? Hey. Boompa Dusu Kye Shimpa, Lord Maitreya. But that's not enough, is it? To be becoming. That's not enough to say, oh, we're talking about the future relative to my pen. We also need Bumpa Dusu Mai Kiepa, which is also awkward. Our friend at the time of our friend, the water pitcher. Ma Kiepa means not beginning. It's like we just said it has begun. This Ma Kepa means it's not yet happened. It's beginning, but it's not there yet. The future. We're not talking about the pen in the future. We're talking about the future that the pen could go into. No, that doesn't work. We're trying to identify what do we mean by future. It has to be something that's like starting, but it can't be fully existing because that wouldn't be future. That would be now. It's begun and it's happening. That's what we call now. It can't not be beginning at all because then we have nowhere to go. But it can't be already totally begun because now that would make it now the now, which it's gonna be, right? We can't experience anything but the now. We can conceptualize past and conceptualize future, and we think, oh, everybody just knows what's past, what's future. You probably figured that out by the time we're 7 or 8 years old. But we don't understand it really. Because I don't know about you, I'm thinking the past is a thing. And in that past is where all my memories are. And the future is a thing that's just waiting. Like we're going to step into it someday. But aren't we ever not anywhere but our present moment? And even when you try to find the exact present moment that you're in, you're always an instant behind. So are we always in the past? And never even in the present moment? Well, that can't be because past means gone. It really is a fascinating and slippery subject matter, this thing called time. And it's only slippery and difficult because we're holding to time as some kind of thing that has its own nature, thing that is somehow separate from our mental seeds ripening. Because to say it's nothing but our seeds ripening means if our seeds stop ripening, there'd be no time at all, and that's ridiculous. But it's just as ridiculous to say there could be a moment when our seeds are not ripening, because that's more ridiculous than saying there'd be no time. But that's higher school. Lower school says, no, we can find past and we can find present, but only relative to something that's existing in the present moment. It has to be relative to something else. So how do we use this? Good question. Geshe-la said, these ideas about past, present, future will help us better understand the relationship between causes and results and the existence of things. And some of us spent some time studying Arya Nagarjuna, where he has us look for cause-result relationships from the cause going into the result and cause-result relationships from the result coming out of the cause and going from that to the next one. And he really helped us dig into finding out how we misunderstand cause and result so that we can reveal to ourselves how cause and result really works, because it does, but not the way we think. So this topic of time and how past and future and present relate to each other, if we dig into it, will help us understand how causes and results and existing things relate to each other. So Geshe-la had us play this game. He gave us I'm going to say 14, but maybe there's only 7. 7 different things to consider. And he's asking us, does this statement that we're considering, does it most closely describe a cause of the water pitcher, a result of the water pitcher, a working thing, or not existing at all? So on my screen share, I'm not relating this column to that column. I wanted to have these 4 options available so I can see them, because I can't remember them when I'm talking about the other stuff without looking at them. So these are our options in this investigation about these relationships between a water pitcher in the present moment, its past, its future, and some other stuff when we get there. All right. Oh, you know what? I don't think I wrote it all down. Right. Okay. So the first 3 in this game are Bumpe Gyu, Bumpa Drebu, and Nupo. Bumpe Gyu means the water pitcher's cause. So when I say consider the cause of our friend the water pitcher, does that most closely match the cause of the water pitcher? I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. What we're talking about in this first choice is Bumpe Gyu, the cause of the water pitcher. What we're talking about in the result of the pitcher is Bumpa Drebu, the result. Nupo is working thing. Not existing at all, Geshe-la didn't give us, it's Mepa. Right, because he did all this in Tibetan. I'm going to do it in English. So here goes. I didn't write down the 7 different options. So the first topic of consideration in Tibetan is Kechikma. Kechikma means something which lasts only a moment. So consider something which lasts only a moment. Which of these 4 categories most closely fit something which lasts only a moment. Janet was hot off the track. Correct. Working thing. Because the definition of working thing is that which lasts only a moment. Remember? Now, does that mean the cause of a water pitcher is something that lasts more than a moment? No. Or the result of a water pitcher is something that lasts more than a moment? No. But working thing matches most closely because that which lasts only a moment is the actual definition of working thing. So good job. Here's the next one. Ge shimpa, that which is in the act of beginning. So we heard that term before. Something that's in the act of beginning, ge shimpa, means it's not already begun. So it's not fully present yet. So something that's in the act of beginning but hasn't finished beginning yet. What is that? I have a cause of the picture. I have the result of a picture. But it's only just started to begin. It hasn't finished beginning. So we had said something that's in the past had to have begun and already ended relative to our current moment, water pitcher. And something in the future or the future defined by our current moment, water pitcher, is something that has started to begin but hasn't all the way begun. Because once it's all the way begun, it's our present moment. So is there something that exists that's only in the act of becoming? Lowest school? No. Right? This is describing a not yet existing thing. So number 4, you don't have a cause yet. If it's gonna be the cause, it hasn't fully become the cause yet. So you can't say it's the cause. If we're talking about it becoming the result, it started, but it's not full-on result yet. Is it a working thing? Is it something changing moment by moment? Yes. But has it done anything yet? No. So although you could make a case that it is a working thing because it's changing moment by moment, it's not actually a thing yet. So a better fit is not existing at all, says the logic text. Third one. It means something which has not yet come relative to our water pitcher. Something that has not yet come relative to our water pitcher. Geshe-la said what that's meaning to say is that which is future for our water pitcher of the now. Is this describing its cause, its result, a working thing, or a non-existing thing? Again, Janet got it. It's describing the result. The result of our friend, the water pitcher, is something that has not yet happened in the time of the water pitcher. The water pitcher itself is a result of something else. But what's going to go, what the future brings for our water pitcher is the result of it. Here's a way that helped me track these. I had to draw it. So maybe this will help. If not, just throw it out. So if we think of our timeline and we have our water pitcher in our current moment there in the middle, you can think, well, in the time before the water pitcher comes about whatever impulse it is that causes the water pitcher in our current moment. And then coming after that is going to be the result of our current moment water pitcher, which then is going to make it such that this water pitcher is the result of its cause and the cause of its future. And the future water pitcher, which is actually going to be another current moment water pitcher, will be a result of its cause and a cause of its result, which is helpful when we're thinking of causes and results as such separate things. And they are, right? Because the cause of this water pitcher is different than this water pitcher as the cause of its result. But in the relationship that brings things into existence, you have this, everything is the result of a cause and the cause of a result. But we're talking different factors happening within what we're calling a period of time. Not that the time is there that it's happening in. We'll say higher school. Okay, so when we're thinking cause, think in the past until I get a little bit further, and then that's going to get a little bit cloudy. And then when you're thinking result, think moving along the timeline for later. And this helped me recognize how those definitions help us, because the cause has to have already started but stopped by the time of this. And the result has to be on its way, but not fully there, in order to be calling it the future for the water pitcher. Okay, so back to where we were. The next category is umpe du sudepa, which means at the time of the water pitcher, depa means already. So that which is past by the time of our water pitcher. That which is past. That which is past by the time of our water pitcher. Right? Does that need to be the cause? Yes. The cause is in the past. Lower school. Relative to our current water pitcher. Next one. Umpe maongpa. The water pitcher didn't come yet. Meaning the not yet arisen water pitcher relative to our water pitcher. What time is that going to be in? The water pitcher not yet come. Meaning the future of the water pitcher, which should mean the result of our water pitcher, shouldn't it? But the text clearly says this is describing Bumpe Gyu, the cause of a water pitcher. Geshe says this one takes some cooking. Bumpe maungwa min omba ninsa. Water pitcher hasn't come yet. That sure sounds like future, which sounds like it's talking about a result that hasn't occurred. How come that's not existing thing then? They say, no, we're talking about the water, the cause, the water pitcher that is the cause. Why has that not happened yet? Because they're not talking about this cause. They're talking about this water pitcher as not yet the cause for its result. Any cause is not a cause until it has brought about its result. Is that right? Something we say is a potential cause. You have the tomato seed. You're holding in your hot little hand the cause for a tomato plant, unless that seed never ever sprouts. Then that seed, although it is a tomato seed, it never creates a tomato plant, so it never becomes a cause for a tomato plant. At what point does it become the cause for the tomato plant? At its first little sprout? Or not until somebody can say, oh, look, there's a little tomato plant? Or not until you actually get a tomato off of it? Like, when is it? When does it become the cause? If the seed is the cause and it doesn't become the cause until you have a sprout, when you have the sprout, that little seed has swollen and cracked open and the sprouts come out the middle, you don't have a seed anymore. So how can you say the tomato seed is the cause for the tomato plant if the seed is gone by the time you have the plant? But you can't have a plant without the cause having brought it about. So when you have the seed, you don't have a cause. Not until you have the little sprout do you have the result that now you can say, oh, that seed and other stuff was the cause for my tomato plant. So until we have the water pitcher of the current moment, the cause of the water pitcher becoming the water pitcher of the current moment is not the cause yet. So they say this category of Bumpa Ma'ongwa, perceiving water pitchers not yet come, is recognizing that the cause for the water pitcher isn't making the water pitcher until the water pitcher comes. So number one, the cause. In the answer key and the final question, the question is, for what is a pitcher a future thing? It's awkward English. For what is our pitcher a future thing? For its cause, the cause of the pitcher. Our current pitcher is the future for the cause of the pitcher. Once the cause makes the pitcher, that's future for the cause. But then the cause is done. Although we're going to see not exactly. So it's pointing out that the cause of a water pitcher is future for the water pitcher that arises out of it. It's like, no, it's not the future for that. It's that the water pitcher that arises is in the future from the cause. Boundaries are starting to blur. The sixth one is Bumpa Depa, that which is past for our friend the water pitcher. For whom is pitcher past? Geshe-la said. What is it that comes after our current water pitcher? if the cause was what came before, what comes after? If our picture is the result of the cause that comes before, what is the picture that comes after the one we have now relative to the one we have now? Yeah, its result. For whom is our picture past? Is saying, what's it going towards? Slippery. Last one, Jikshimpa. Jikshimpa means in the process of destruction. So that which is in the process of being destroyed. What do you think? That which is in the process of being destroyed. Janet votes for the result. Right, the result of whatever is destroying it, right? But then we could be talking about the destruction as well as the cause for the end of the picture. And we could think, well, maybe it means that once the picture is all gone, there's no existing thing. But what ties them all together, says the scripture, is this best describes a working thing. The water pitcher in the process of being destroyed. Do we think of that as a working thing? It's like, no, the poor thing's not doing anything. Something else is doing something to it. And as a result, it's going to disappear. That's not fair to call it a working thing. But somehow that's what they say best fits this description, is a working thing, something that's changing moment by moment. In order to be destroyed, it has to be existing. So it can't be number 4. And it has to be changing. And we're not specifically talking about the result of the thing that's being destroyed or the cause of the thing that's being destroyed. We're talking about something acting upon it. So that's why they say we're talking working thing. All right, good for us. That's all. A homework question and a quiz question and a final exam question. Yes, Janet.
The meditation, review meditation, Shargom, on the 7 types of inaccurate reasons for a particular proof. That has nothing to do with this.
Right, we haven't gotten there
Okay.
yet.
All right.
Yeah. All right, let's take our break.
Lama Sarani.
Yes.
Sometimes I think it's interesting things. No, not always, but say, okay, I will do it tomorrow, yes, but to know tomorrow's never come, never.
Exactly.
It's interesting,
Never.
never. It's only today.
Right.
And
It's always today.
yes, I start to do homework because okay, but tomorrow I don't know. It's never start, never come.
Right. Right. It's a little boggling, isn't it? Because we can't do
Yeah.
everything today. We do have to put some things off for tomorrow. Yeah, but it's never
when
never
we
tomorrow.
come tomorrow, it's not tomorrow, it's today.
It's today. In this moment today. Yeah, it's kind of fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
It'd be nice to really live in that spontaneity. It's always now. So Geshe gave us an overview of the four schools' view of time. So we didn't have to try to figure it out ourselves. And there's much more to it, of course, than what he could give in this one class, but it'll get us started. So highest school says that all three times, past, present, and future, are each one existing things, working things. They don't agree with logic school that says a past pen does not exist. Highest school says, of course it exists as a past pen, meaning as a conceptualization of a pen that no longer exists. So he shared that there are two arguments, two explanations for why past and future things, past and future are working things, existing things that are working things, because you can't be a working thing if you're not an existing thing. Now he said, interestingly, the lowest school, Abhidharmas, Vaibhashika, they also say past, present, and future are working things, but they give a different reason. And he didn't clarify what that reason is. The highest school gives two reasonings, and of course, they're based on karma. And our understanding of karma, meaning dependent origination, is the basis for the difference between all the schools, right? But particularly in this regard. So the question is, how can something I did in the past affect me now? And how can something I do now affect me in the future? If lowest school has said there is no past, there is no future, then why does our behavior make any difference? How can karma work if there's no past and no future? And logic school says, no, you're just misunderstanding, of course, because they know karma works. But on the other hand, so it's like karma can't work if there's no past and future. And on the other hand, how can it work if there's already an existing future or still an existing part of the past? Like both of those are misunderstandings. So logic school wiggles out of it, says Geshe Michael, by saying, oh, the absolute future, a future unrelated to any given thing, doesn't exist, but your future karma does exist. Like they say, each one of us is the factor that makes future relative to something. Then mind-only school says, look, when we commit a deed, that awareness of ourselves doing it plants a mental seed, a bakchak. And that bakchak is our karma from the deed, which is then stored and carried in another mental consciousness whose only function is to store those seeds. They explain that when this deed, they say that the deed is passed over and done with. The deed no longer exists, but the imprint from it remains in this storehouse consciousness, the kunchi. That imprint is carried along, it's replicated through time until the day it meets the conditions that make it ripen. So this is mind-only school, a Mahayana school, a school that wants to reach total Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings, and a school that believes that things that function have to have some kind of nature of their own to be able to be things that function. The lower school, Abhidharmas, they say that karma stays in the stream of our 5 heaps as they travel on. So the heaps are these things, and they carry our karma. Then lower middle way, they explain that karma doesn't stay, but the seed created by the deed stays in your mental consciousness, floating along through time until it ripens into an event. So not so different than mind only, but not making the case that those seeds need a separate place to stay. They are a little bit vague, at least in this explanation, that they just carry on. Then highest middle way. They explain it all a little bit differently. And the lower schools hear their explanation and they disagree. And that's how the whole topic comes about, to investigate the different schools' understanding of time. And it's really revealing to our own minds our level of grasping to something having to have its own nature and what those own natures are. We all say nothing has any nature of its own. Nobody believes things are self-existent until somebody yells at you, and then they are. But what we mean by not self-existent gets more and more sophisticated as we explore, study, practice, and gather the goodness to be able to understand it more deeply. So high school says, karmic seeds are not carried in your mind stream in the sense that they don't just stay, park themselves in your mind stream and flow along with the mind stream. They say karmic seeds, these imprints of past deeds, are carried in our simple me, your me, my me. Call it Sarani, call it Janet. Our seeds are carried in our person, in our me. But what's the category of things that is my me? Is it an existing thing? Yes. Is it an existing changing thing? Yes. Is it an existing changing material thing? My me? No. Is it an existing changing mental thing? Sure seems like it, that which is aware. But they say no. Is it an existing changing thing that's not physical, not all mental? It's a conceptual thing. My me is a conceptual thing, this demenduje, an active thing which is neither physical nor mental. It's a concept. Our concept, me. What is that? What are those concepts? They're dunchies. Mental images of something we've experienced before that we mistake for a real object. And we arrived at it by negating all that it is not. See why we learned all this stuff? Meaning it's a projection coming from past experience that we mistake for being a thing out there coming at me, and a me being here for it to come at. And that thing coming at me and that me it's coming at can't be anything else. So our me is a projection, a projected subject side that streams on through time. They say the reason that millions of years can go by between when I hit somebody on the head and when I get hit thousands of times on my head is not because the karma sits around somewhere for all time. It's that the karma stays with my me as I project my me and my world, forced to do so by that ripening karma. It's difficult and subtle, says Geshe-la. So the past and the future are working things because the karma of the past can and will affect us because that mental seed has been planted in our me and no one else. And that projection of our own mind will arise as a moment of now, but it doesn't happen relative to my now until in the future. So if I do my deed now, the result I'm going to experience will happen in the future because it's carried in my own me, moment to moment to moment to moment. I want to say through time, but we're trying to talk about the time that this is actually revealing. Right? This isn't happening in a thing called time. This process is what we call time. Geshe-la says, I'll state it in a figurative way to make it easier. So to help us understand, we might say, oh, those karmic seeds are planted in your mind and stored there, being influenced by other ones until it's time for them to ripen. That's a lower school explanation because it's not exactly correct. Highest school is saying those karmas from the past deeds are making the very projections of the me that is carrying those karmas that continue to project me and my world, that makes more karma to make more me and my world. So nothing is in it from it. Nothing is real in that sense, because everything, even karma, is projection. So no, we're not saying nothing really exists, because everything is projections forced by karma. That's what makes our experiences, real or imaginary or dream, or if there's some other quality of experience, they are all projected and they are experienced. And by experiencing them, we react to them. And that perpetuates the karma for the projection of more things and experiences, including my me. If we weren't projecting things, then they couldn't be here and we couldn't be here. If something could exist independent of someone's projection of it, then that thing could never be seen or experienced. Because to be seen, to be experienced, depends on karma's ripening. They depend on the results of causes, and the only actual results of causes is the ripening of the mental imprints made by what we were aware of ourselves doing towards others. Geshe-la said, nothing can make us see it without us seeing it. Nothing can make us experience anything if we don't have the karmic seeds ripening to experience it. So our ignorant karmic seeds force us to experience something as if that something is making us see it the way we do. And our ignorance colors those seeds with the belief in self-existence, with the seeing it all coming at me is coming out of the seeds. You damage that ignorance aspect of all the seeds, and we stop seeing it that way. Okay. So mind-only school, they say, right, karmic seeds are planted and carried along by replication, and then they ripen by meeting the appropriate conditions. Madhyamaka Prasangika agrees with that description, but they don't accept that those karmic seeds are little functional things in and of themselves that need a place to stay. Functionalist school, mind only, says karma runs the show. It is the functioning thing. And therefore, it has some existence of its own, not self-existent, because it has all kinds of other factors it depends on. But it's a thing, and it needs a place to be stored. And it's got to be in your mind, and it can't be in this awareness or that awareness or that one or that one or that one or that one. There's got to be an extra one, just for karmic seeds. Hey, it makes sense. It's reasonable. It will help us to live according to mind-only school, understanding of what our karmic seeds are doing. But ultimately, when we understand that, just because something's functioning does not make it something with an identity any more than my projected results of my own past deeds. So highest way says, yeah, okay, everything does come from our karma, but those seeds don't need a place to stay. They stay in you, simply you. And he says, he gives the name. They stay in Mike. They stay in Sarani. But Sarani's going to disappear at the end of this life. But my subject side, that's not ever going to disappear. Technically, it's never the same 2 moments in a row, but it's never not me, subject side. And that's where those imprints, that's what is affected by those imprints. There's no subject side apart from this process of the imprints and exprints. There's no such word, but you get what I mean. Karmic seeds, mental seeds doing their thing. So all of that was one reason why highest school says past, present, and future exists. Because it's in those karmic seeds. Then second reason is they call it parallel reasoning. They say if you put your mind on a pen at the moment of its destruction, can we say that the destruction of the pen has a cause? Is there a cause for the destruction of the pen? Before the pen's destroyed, it's starting to be destroyed. It's in the process of being destroyed. Something is causing the destruction happening of the pen. So we can say, yes, there's a cause for the destruction of the pen. So there's a cause for the past pen. Once the pen is destroyed, we have a pen that is past, right? We don't have a pen anymore, but we did have a pen, and now it's been destroyed. So that past pen had a cause. So the destruction of the pen is the cause for the past pen. And they say, so how can you say that there's no past or future that are working things? Because the destruction of the current pen made the pen become a past pen. And that happened in the future. Didn't happen in the future. The destruction happened now. But the pen being past is future for the current pen. So they say, see, past and future are working things. Even as we recognize that you can't experience a thing in the past because you're in the current moment of experiencing it, and we can't experience a thing in the future, but we can see how the future is a functioning thing because we have this cause for the destruction of things. It's over my head, to be honest with you. So the destruction of anything that will happen in the future, because all things are impermanent, is then a future working thing. It's not happening now, but it's going to. And that means it is a working thing. That makes the future a working thing somehow. But they clarify that they agree with lower school. There is no thing called the past and thing called the future independent of something that is in the past or will be in the future. There is no time in and of itself, past, present, or future. Time is always relative to something as part of the experience. I would go so far as to say relative to the one who's experiencing that time. Because my pen doesn't experience time as far as I'm aware. It takes conscious awareness to have a concept of time. And maybe it's even a human thing. I don't know about cows and mosquitoes, about what their concept of time is. Okay. So just as we said, the destruction of a thing has a cause, even though it hasn't happened yet, that the birth of a thing has to have a cause. And highest school says, right, same thing. And to be a thing with a cause is to be a working thing. So the past has a cause. The past relative to an object has a cause. It contributes to results. And so therefore it is a working thing, and a working thing has to be an existing thing. The result is the future thing. The result has to have a cause for the result. So even the future thing is a working thing relative to the object we're talking about. the object's current moment, the object's becoming it, and the object going into its result. So, in summary, I don't know if it helps or not. All working things are existing things, but not all existing things are working things. Past things, present things, future things are all working things per highest school. And so they are all existing things. So that's what all of that, whatever I was trying to describe, was trying to show, is that past and future are working things. And that's what proves that they're existing things. So then Geshe-la asked, so is your future Buddhahood an existing thing? All right, we have a little bit more to do. That was the philosophy. Now we have our logic lesson, our last logic lesson. We're still talking about reasons and what makes a reason correct or incorrect. And there we've reached incorrect reasons. Like this last topic is what makes a reason an incorrect reason for a particular proof. So we learned before the definition of a reason is anything you give as a reason. So how can there be a wrong reason? We can give wrong reasons for something we're trying to prove, but any reason that we come up with could be a good reason for something, just probably not the thing we're using it for, unfortunately. So when we say correct reason, we have to clarify it and say, we're talking about a correct reason for a given syllogism, a given proof, a given assertion that we're making about some topic of consideration. Now it would be helpful to know how to recognize whether our reason is correct for our proof or whether it's incorrect for our proof. The only reason we're going to check is because we think it's correct, but maybe it's not. No, maybe the other guy is not going to see it as correct. So we're trying to think this all through. So the Taitar Nang De Drup Gi means a reason incorrect in a particular proof. There are three kinds. De Drup Gi Gyoe Tensik. Tensik means a kind of reason. De Drupki means for this particular proof, for our particular proof, whatever it is. Gyoe means contradiction, the kind of reason that's a contradiction in our particular proof. Contradiction between what and what. So here this specifically is saying, when we look at the quality we're trying to prove and the reason that we give for it, the quality, our assertion, contradicts the reason. The quality to prove and the reason are actually opposites. Geshe-la's example is consider sound. Our assertion, it's not a changing thing. Why do we say that? Because it's made. And it's like, that's silly. To say it's not a changing thing is the opposite of saying that it's a made thing. So the reason is incorrect because the assertion contradicts the reason. Do you see? It's like saying, if 3 then 2 doesn't hold. But we arrive at it by recognizing that the assertion is the opposite of the reason we gave. Which hopefully we look at that and go, oh, my reason's not going to work. I need to find a better reason. Then second one is de drupki manyepa tensik. Manyepa means not definitive. So this is where our reason does not definitively prove our quality. So technically the way we say it is that the quality to prove is not definitively proven by our reason. Shows us that our reason is incorrect for our syllogism. Geshe-la's example, consider sound. It's something we can hear because it's a changing thing. So just because I can hear it, does it make it a changing thing? Yes. But just because it's a changing thing, does that necessarily make it something I can hear? No, the reason's too big, right? The reason also covers things I see, things I smell, things I taste. So the reason isn't definitive enough to clarify, to say for sure that our assertion is correct. The third incorrect reason given the proof is de drupki ma drupe tensi, meaning the reason given just doesn't prove the assertion. It's simply inaccurate. And there are 7 kinds of inaccurate reasons, just plain old inaccurate, not contradictory, not non-definitive, just wrong. Don't use them. These 7. The first one of the 7 is when the subject and the reason just don't relate. It means the reason is, okay, of the 7 different types of inaccurate reasons, the first one is that the reason is actually non-existent. So consider Sarani. Sarani is suffering terribly because she's been stabbed by the horns on the head of a rabbit. And it's like, yes, Sarani's suffering terribly, but horns on the head of a rabbit can't stab anybody. That's just an incorrect reason, inaccurate reason. Like 1 does not apply to 3 because 3 is a non-existent thing. Second one, the subject is non-existent. So no matter what you say in the reason, there can't be any kind of relationship between your reason and a non-existent thing. First one was the reason was non-existent, subject was. This one's subject non-existent, reason is. Consider the horns on the head of a rabbit. It's a changing thing because it's made. That wrong reason because there's no such thing. If there were, it'd be a made thing. Yes, it would be true. But you don't even go there because you don't get past 1 and 3. Check statement 1, check statement 3. Is there a relationship? No. So you don't get to go any further. Third, wrong reason is where the quality we give is also the reason. You can't use as your reason the assertion. Consider sound. It's a changing thing because it's a working thing. That's like saying, consider sound, it's a changing thing because it changes. It's like, come on, that doesn't prove anything. That it's a common mistake though, because when we use synonyms for our assertion and our reason, we're just changing the word, but the meaning is the same. That's what a synonym is. So it makes for a wrong reason, even though it sounds really good. Fourth one, if our subject is the reason. Consider sound, it's a changing thing because it's sound. Sorry, not a proof. The fifth one, if the subject is the quality to be proven. It doesn't matter what you say about your object, you haven't asserted anything about it that you can prove. Consider sound, it's sound because it's changing. It's like, sorry, not a proof. Sixth, when the reason does not apply to the subject. Didn't we say that already? The reason is incorrect when it does not apply to the subject. Consider sound, it's a changing thing because you can see it with your eyes. It's like, come on, sound is not something you can see. 3 and 1 are not, they have no relationship. Before we said they had no relationship because one or the other just didn't exist. Now it's that they don't have a relationship. Seventh one, if part of the reason is incorrect. So sometimes the reason we give has multiple parts. And if any part of our reason is incorrect for any of these reasons, the whole thing is incorrect. So their example is, consider trees, they have minds because their leaves curl up and go to sleep at night. So it is true that some plants' leaves curl up at night. But can we say for sure that they go to sleep? Depends on who we're talking to, right? And that's the whole point. So if part of our reason is incorrect, the whole reason is incorrect. And so these are 7 ways that proofs are invalidated by incorrect reasons, plus those additional ones, like just plain wrong reasons, and then the additional ones that are wrong in these more subtle ways. So there's one more way that our argument can be invalidated, and that is if anywhere along the way, the one we are debating with doubts any one of the elements in our argument, then our whole argument is incorrect. It doesn't matter how correct we find the argument to be. It fits all the rules, all the categories. If the other person isn't on the same page, doesn't have the same belief, doesn't have the same understanding of the words that we're using, then our proof does not prove to them the point we're trying to get across. Yes, Janet.
If this is just a review meditation, can we just read this thing with the sound examples and we don't have to
Yes.
do anything else? Oh, thank God.
Yes. You don't have to memorize it and review it in your mind. Think of each one and think about it. Why is it that that reason doesn't prove what I'm trying to say? Okay. So we do this a lot, apparently. We assume that the other person has the same assumptions and agrees with those assumptions, which implies that they see things the same way I do. Not literally sees them, but thinks about things in the same way I do. And of course, they don't, which is why we're arguing about something in the first place, is because we're seeing things differently. And I think we should do this, and you think we should do that. And it's like we can be trying to change each other's minds, but we haven't found a common ground from which to start. And it won't go anywhere as a result, except probably into bad feelings if it turns into an argument. So any syllogism or reasoning that does not establish this common ground at each level before we go further will be considered our reason will be wrong. The whole reasoning, not just our statement 3, but the whole reasoning will be incorrect because it doesn't help the other person stop and think things through differently. Even when the other person is our own self, right? We're talking to ourselves with these syllogisms to show ourselves some different perception. We want to be clear that we are establishing this baseline of understanding what we're trying to say to ourselves. So they call it the wrong reason for the particular school we are debating with. And their classical example is a person who's a Jain, Jain, arguing with a Buddhist. And the Jain says, consider that tree. It has a mind because it dies when you strip its bark. And they believe that, yes, trees die when you strip their bark. If it's true, it dies when you strip its bark, then it must be true that it has a mind. And if it didn't have a mind, then it would be true that it wouldn't die when you stripped its bark. They believe that that's a proof. But if the Buddhist doesn't believe that plants die when you strip their bark, they believe that they just dry up, but they don't call it dying. Then that proof doesn't prove to the Buddhist, oh, you must be right, because they don't agree with the syllogism. And we learned, but syllogisms are supposed to be proofs. No, they're absolute die-hard proofs. You should be able to show somebody something they don't believe, and they should come to believe it. But there's nothing in the words that will make that happen if we don't start at the common level, like the example of the person who believes that Om is an unchanging sound that is the source of the universe. You don't say, consider Om, it's a sound, it's a changing thing, therefore it can't be the source of the universe. They're going to go disagree. But we start with sound. Consider sound. Okay. We understand sound. It's a changing thing because it's a made thing. And right, even the one who believes Om is the source of the universe knows that all the sounds in our worldly world are made things. So they're going to go, yeah, right, agree with you there. And then you just leave it up to them to figure out, wait, Om's a sound. Wait. You don't even necessarily have to point it out unless the person's willing to go there. Okay. Geshe said it's all important because if we're trying to spread Buddhism into the West, accurate Buddhism into the West, we need to be able to stay on common ground with those who haven't heard the punchline yet, in order to help them walk themselves through recognizing the limitations of our ordinary human beliefs, in order to search out a belief system, a behavior system through which they can actually reach what their goal, right? The goal being wanting to be happy, wanting to be successful, whatever their goal is. Geshe-la says, an illogical explanation of Buddhism is no better than the opponent's explanation of their belief system. So we want to be able to work out logically why things exist in the way that they do, even those things we can't yet perceive directly, like hell realms, hungry ghosts, for one, but like the workings of karma, like the empty nature of things, like the ongoing nature of our own mind, like the possibility of our own Buddhahood. All of those things are things that we cannot yet directly experience if you're human like me, but that we can logically work out so that we can plant the seeds to reach that direct perception someday. Theoretically, we can save people's lives with Buddhism. The whole purpose of our 18 ACI courses is to change our world. So Geshe-la shared, please meditate well, study well, keep our vows well, do retreat from time to time so that we can create this realm in which there is no death, there is no suffering, there is no forced rebirth. The changes happen subtly for most of us, but they are happening. And it's through our own changes that we demonstrate to others that change can happen. And then our ability to help someone understand it when they have the curiosity to ask is pretty crucial. Because if we give a sloppy explanation, they could try the wrong things on for size and not continue. All right. So Geshe-la said in the end, be sensitive to lousy logic, our own and others. Grow our skill to be able to stay on common ground with others and to use that logic to push ourselves. All righty. That finishes your course 13, which is a really extraordinary accomplishment. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy being. See how happy they are with you. Feel your gratitude to them, your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close, to continue to help you, inspire you, show you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. Their love, their compassion, their wisdom. It feels so good. We want to keep it forever. And so we know to share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done. May all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person, to share it with everyone you love, to share it with every existing being everywhere. See them all filled with loving kindness, filled with wisdom, filled with logic. May it be so. Okay. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share. I still owe you the how to do debate, and not sure when that's coming, but we'll do it. I promise you we'll do it. It's only a couple of classes, like 4 maybe, depending on how fun we have. Maybe we can do more, but it's not a whole course. It's just little bits. So study your answer key, and you'll teach me the review class. So you can see yourself making those seeds to be the one teaching someone else. Yeah. You have a question, Yashing?
Yes. Thank you for teaching ACI 13.
Thank
Can you
you.
say a little bit more? I think I must, like it just flowed through my head. How is the future a working thing?
Because what can I say? It is the time in which the destruction of things happen.
You're saying
And
that
for a
destruction.
thing to be destroyed, the destroyed thing, I want to say is still a thing, but we would go off on a tangent with that in the debate ground to determine whether a thing that was a thing and now is a destroyed thing is still a thing, or is it now something that's completely non-existent? So the future relative to the water pitcher is the destruction happening of the water pitcher, bringing about the destroyed water pitcher. The past water pitcher is something that happens in the future. So the future is a functioning thing. It's not like a thing that's waiting there for it to happen. But what we call the future is this process, I guess, of an existing thing in the present becoming a past thing.
I see.
It's like it really.
Yeah. Because somehow I think like working thing, I'm thinking like something extra, something get more. I wasn't thinking of like something become less, like
Right,
or downhill.
right. Exactly, exactly. And we're still thinking of a working thing as having some kind of identity of its own that can do something to something else. And highest school says, right? Even working things are projections and nothing but, and that's how they work. So same with our past and future. It's a working thing, but doesn't mean it's a tangible thing sitting there waiting to do work. But it is part of the projection working thing of the destruction, the demise of something, the time in which the demise occurs.
So
And I have
the Buddha is a projected thing
Yes.
in that school, and the future Buddha, whether it be us, we're already Buddhas, but we're only projections.
Right. But so is the taxi cab that breaks my legs. Only projections. That's what makes it real That's what makes it past. That's what makes it future. By projection.
And I had a question before, which is, how can we prove by the time, like if I keep doing, like if I can become a Buddha, how can I prove I can help other people? Because basically another person, they can only be affected by their own karma. And I think the answer somehow I got is somehow to do with this timing, like, but I don't quite understand yet.
Yeah.
How can I prove
Yeah.
I can help out?
Right. The causes for our Buddhahood are zillions of virtuous karmas, right? And that we make those virtuous karmas in the process of growing our virtuous karmas. We are growing our love and compassion for others because there's no other reason to grow our virtue than to end our own suffering. And part of our suffering is seeing the suffering of others. So to become Buddha, we need that kind of bodhicitta, which is I want to become totally enlightened for the sake of all sentient beings. So that half of our bodhicitta is our love compassion half. And then when the wisdom seeds and the love compassion seeds ripen there ultimately into our Buddhahood, that heart of compassion, that bodhicitta side of love and compassion, from which we actually grow, our omniscience grows, will spontaneously, effortlessly emanate as whatever any being needs in order for them to reach their total enlightenment as quickly as possible. You, the Buddha, may look to you like you, the Buddha, is standing right in front of Yashing or right in front of Janet, let's say, out of your love and compassion, sitting there waiting for her to say, oh, hi, Buddha, can you help me reach Buddha paradise? But Janet sees the person at the grocery store, or Janet sees, whatever she sees. You, wisdom, being compassion, is not the least bit flustered by the fact that you're aware that she doesn't see you the way you see you, because you are also seeing Janet in her most pure form. So she's going to eventually get there. And you have this infinite patience, and you just continue to be what she needs. And maybe what she needs is a swift kick in the pants. Maybe what she needs is to win the lottery. Maybe what she needs, right? You just are it, not by design, by spontaneity. So it's not that I can make somebody become enlightened once I become Buddha, because I can't take their karma. It's that my love, compassion will manifest as everything, anything that they need to move along the path. Eventually, they're waking up enough to recognize, oh my gosh, I've got my guide with me. I don't see them, but I rely upon them, right? Their practice grows and your connection with them grows. And you are actually helping them make the karma for them to make the virtue to become Buddhas.
So like every second they can see what might happen, because all of the seed,
right,
and then they just adjust. And I have another ripening, and then they just adjust.
Right.
Very busy.
Right. Effortlessly, spontaneously.
So there must be a lot of Buddhas.
Yeah. There must
When I
be.
think about that, it's like there must be lots of Buddhas, right?
Right, there must be. And they must be all around us. And I'm so sorry, I must bump into them. I must kick them. I must spit on them. It's like, I'm so sorry, but it's hard to grasp.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
thank you.
Something like that.
Mm. Yeah, it's really
Okay.
beyond what I can grasp. It's like every second I can see so many different things.
Yeah. Yeah. Omniscience is beyond, but it's fun to imagine. It's fun to try. What would it be like?
Mm.
Boggling.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, my dears. It's been a pleasure. I'm stopping the recording.